spent a lot of time talking about Mercury retrograde.
Yes.
Now, I don't know if you've read my letters in the last week. Well, Mercury retrograde, it went retrograde like like the first week in May, around there. And when Mercury goes retrograde, it appears like the planet Mercury is moving backwards in the sky. Mercury rules certain things. It rules communications, transportation, travel, machinery, cars, everything that, Mercury, with the wings on its head and that thing, and Mercury, the goddess Mercury. And when that goes retrograde, it throws everything in sort of a tizzy. That's the bad side. And a lot of people said, oh, what a worst month I've had. My communications were horrible. Everything I told it went backwards. And I mean, just people told me that over and over who've come into the office. Well, the good part of Mercury, which I really spent a lot of time doing, is it's a time, because it'll go retrograde again in another 3 or 4 months. I don't have the dates with me, but I can get them to you. And when Mercury goes retrograde, it's the best time to clean your closet, throw out stuff that you don't need, do your paperwork, do your books, finish everything that needs to be finished, all the documentation, all the stuff that you hate doing. And because it brings you back, it also brings you back if you're communicating with someone and that communications falls apart. It sort of brings you back to the time clear up the communications. When it goes direct again, it's going backwards, right? Now it's going to go direct. It stops for a second and then it goes direct. So in our lives, when we're doing projects and stuff, we're like, and all of a sudden, boom, and then it resets itself. So it's a way to catch up on communications with people. It's a way to go back, and straighten out things that haven't been. So that's the positive part of Mercury. I don't usually talk about astrology on the internet. I don't usually write about astrology. And people even said, what's all this stuff about astrology? Why are you... It's just that sometimes an aspect will hit people, it hits everyone. And it's a time that if we look at the positive part of it, like most parts of life, like a lot of people are getting fat now because of the economy. Interesting, huh? Yeah, people are getting fatter.
What, they don't eat too much? No.
Well, they're stressed out, that's for one, and they don't have a lot of money. So what do you eat when you don't have a lot of money? You eat breads and rolls and carbohydrates, and when you're stressed, I want to eat pasta. Ooh, pasta's cheap. I get a big thing of pasta. I'm going to eat white bread, pasta. I'm going to eat cookies. I'm going to eat a bunch of stuff because at least I'm full. It's sort of a survival mode. So this isn't really the time to be putting your attention on those carbs because you'll really gain, you'll really fill out. It's cheaper, but it's actually better to put your attention into exercise right now because what you can do is you can blow the stresses off. So in the recharging Qigong exercises, there's one that when we start in the beginning, when I start, I always start with my hands down and I'm pulling the energy up from the earth to about shoulder length. I turn the hands over and I grab the energies from the heavens and then I pull it down like I'm pulling a column of white light through my body. So a lot of people, they just reach up. But it's reaching up. This is the earth element. This is the heaven element. And you pull it right through you, column of light. Again, I'm reaching up over my head, grabbing the energy, pulling this column of light. So now I'm ready. My hands come back to the lower Dantian. Right? So now I have this light, all of this light that I've just covered myself with. And it's not like a little light tube. It's like a big, huge column of light. So, I'm drenched in this column of light. Okay, this is when I'm getting ready for the practice. Okay, Then I do the 9 points on the feet. I go to the toes, the heels, the outside of the feet, and the inside of the feet, and then I put my attention right on the balls of my feet. So, when you're doing that, 5 toes, heels 6, outside 7, inside 8, and the ball of the foot 9. And this really grounds your energy, because what you're looking at is not only are you looking at pulling the cosmic energy in from heaven to open up, you're looking at grounding yourself. I remember my teacher used to say this: if you're just putting your attention in the heavenly energies, and you're always going up and up and up, you don't take the time to ground yourself, and you go up like a bean sprout. You ever plant a bean? What happens? A bean shoots up and it goes, and then it falls over with a big head on it, right? There's no foundation. So the idea is, if you can get your grounding and really drop your energy. So the idea in a lot of meditations is you want to shoot up into the heavens, right? That's what we want to do. I want to get out of my body. I want to be free. I want to be free. So, so it's not often I get, So, if you're looking at getting out, the best thing to do is ground yourself. If you ever look at an iceberg is a huge piece of ice above the water. But that's what, a quarter of it? And then, the rest of it, or it's a third maybe, and 2/3 of it's under the water, and that's what keeps it, sort of centered, this big iceberg. When that boat hit, the unsinkable boat in the 30s, the Titanic, they said, oh, it's just an iceberg, and our boat is unsinkable, right? So, bam, into the iceberg, but the iceberg that was maybe, as big as, big as this room, underneath it was as big as this building. So when it hit, then that was the end of the Titanic. In fact, I just heard on the news that the lady just died, the last survivor of the Titanic. She just died last week.
Really? How old was her?
She was 320. She no, she was ageless. I don't know how old she is. She didn't call. I wasn't in touch with her. So when we're doing our practices, what you're looking at, if you're seated like this, your sitting practice, you put your attention on your toes, your heels, outside, inside, ball of your feet. And then I'm imagining the energy from the Tai Chi pole. So if I go from my ears, you push your ears down, and if you draw all the way up to the top of your head, right on the top of the head, right here, is the point is called Du 20. That's the acupuncture point. And they say it's the point of 100 diseases. So a lot of times I'll put a needle in there, and it treats all kinds of things. It treats headaches. It treats prolapses, which is real interesting.
What is it? Wow.
Prolapse. Let's say you have prolapse. Let's say you have hemorrhoids. You wouldn't think, but you pull it up from the top of the head. Or prolapsed organs. Things are starting to fall down on the face. When I'm doing a facelift acupuncture, you lift and those things. It really works well. But also, I use that point on the top of the head. The point on the top of the head is also where the Tai Chi pole goes. So you have imaginary pole going through the body. It goes from the top of the head to the perineum. So there's like a column of light. So that's when you're centering and you're doing your meditations, or you're doing your martial arts, or you're doing your Qigong exercise, you're grounding yourself, and when you're moving, you're sort of moving around the Tai Chi pole. Yeah, so it's another way to keep yourself grounded, because as we dig into the earth and we really ground ourselves, and there's an exercise that we can do, we'll go outside one day, but you work with a tree. So the way it works is, here's this big tree with the branches and the leaves, and then under the tree you don't see it, but there's roots going down in the ground. So when we do the microcosmic orbit meditation, the one where goes down the front and up the back. So you're starting to work with the crown chakra, the third eye, the throat, the heart, solar plexus, navel, sex center, and the perineum. At the same time, that energy goes down the front and up the back and starts to travel like that. So when I'm working with that, and I'm going to work with a tree, because usually when we do our meditations, we say, okay, we're going to do the microcosmic orbit. Everybody put your fingers like this. Everybody put your tongue on the roof of your mouth. And now we're going. And a lot of times in the beginning, the orbit's very small because we're concentrating in down the front, up the back. And what we really want is we want a big orbit. We want like a waterfall. And a big flame coming up. So a lot of times we don't remember that when we do our meditations, or at least in the beginning when we're first starting, we forget that part. But when you're working with a tree, you do it like this. So you're standing in front of the tree, right? And you're going to imagine from the top of the tree that energy's coming down into the top of your head. It comes down the front of your body. You go all the way down into the ground where the roots are, and then the energy comes up your back and back up to the tree. So you're starting to make that circulation of energy through the tree, because what does the tree do? Pulls energy up from the ground, goes up into the heavens. So it's got heaven and earth. So we're heaven and earth too. We forget it, but that's what we want. When we ground ourselves, we're grounding ourselves into the earth energy. When we're moving out into the heavens, pulling in more of the Shen, the spirit, we're pulling in that from like the tree. We're pulling that in from the leaves and the branches, and we start to get that moving through our system. So when you're working with a tree, I work with one tree near my house, and it's a banyan tree. So what's interesting about the banyan tree, it's got all those things that drop down and make roots. So they always say that the roots of the roots grow from heaven down to earth. Well, that's true. So in our system, that's what we're looking at too. We're looking at how do we take our system, whatever we're doing, our meditation, or unable to sleep, or like you said, you're going to fly. What am I going to do? I'm going to fly. How am I going to sleep? I'll be up. A lot of times in a meditation, what are we looking for? We're looking to get out of our body, right? And we're looking for the cosmic energy. So where on this planet can you be like out in the heavens? On an airplane. Because you're not touching the earth. So it's a great time to meditate. So you're in the plane, you sort of, sit down, you get ready, but make a list of what you want to do and what kind of meditation and what energies and what goals or what you want when you get off that plane. So what I do is I get an idea, and then I set my goals when I'm on the plane, when I'm in the air, when I'm more in heaven. So I'm more etheric at that time. I'm grounded to what? I'm grounded to this metal box flying through the sky. So I really set my goals and really work them and work that in my meditation. So by the time I hit the ground, boom, when I'm hitting the ground, I'm coming back onto earth, and I'm allowing my goals to ground. So now I'm making my goals part of the earth, solid again. So they're no longer etheric, boom, they're coming down, and you make your goals or whatever you want in your life real, because now it's on the earth. So you can use the plane trip. And you're going to France, it's 8 hours. Where am I going? I'm going to Switzerland, that's 8 hours. And Eleanor, where are you going? You're Venezuela, Brazil, everybody's going somewhere. Okay, and a lot of times you're going, how will I sleep on the plane? Well, if you don't sleep, then you need a certain work. So a lot of times when you go into meditation, you don't need sleep. You relax, you start off, and you say, what's interesting is we have 2 feet, 5 toes on each. We've got 2 hands, 5 fingers. We've got 2 wrists, we got 2 ankles. We got 2 calves, we got 2 forearms. It's interesting the way this works. We got 2 elbows, got 2 knees. Interesting. We got 2 hip bones, got 2 shoulders. Then we have the head, and then we have the pelvis. So there's sort of a balance going on in our whole, in our whole system. So as we're balancing, the way I'm relaxing myself, I relax my 5 toes and my 5 fingers. I relax the other 5, the other 5. I relax my left wrist. I relax my left wrist. In these exercises, when you're trying to relax your body, especially on a long flight, you start off by that. Like you might tighten your hand, relax it. Tighten your forearm, relax it. Tighten your upper arm and relax it. Then tighten your foot, relax it. Tighten your calf, relax it. Tighten your thigh, relax it. Then you go to the other arm. So you're busy on the flight. Tighten this, tighten here, tighten there, relax. Tighten the other leg, tighten the other leg, tighten the hip, tighten the shoulder, tighten this, tighten the back.
Oh my God.
They're
Who's
gonna
gonna
think-
watch this?
they're gonna
I'm
think-
gonna-
They're gonna think you're so sexy sitting on a plane. Whoa.
Oh, you make sounds.
I'm going, yeah. Yeah. And if they say anything, know what to say on your flight? Vive la France. Yeah. Right. Well, because you're getting ready to fly and you don't want to carry the tension in your body. Oh, I can't sleep. Can't sleep. Should I take the sleep? I'm very nervous here. It's a whole different way of flying. So you got a pad of paper, buy one of those big pads of paper, make sure you have a pen and a pencil that work. Okay, get all that together. You sit down and you say, excuse me, could I have some water? It goes down and it's up in the air. You'd say, I am no longer part of the earth. I am in heaven. I'm in heaven. I'm flying. I'm flying. Right? And you're going to say, and in a few hours, I'm going to come down into this new land and I have things that I want to accomplish. Take your pen and paper and you start writing out all those things that you want. I want to go to the Eiffel Tower. I want to see this. I want to drink French wine. I want to look at the French horse.
Speak
Yeah, speak a little French. Parlez-vous français?
No,
Oui, oui. What else can I say? Ménage de trois. There's a few words that you learn in the United States, even if you're not fluent. Oui, oui. Merci beaucoup. So there you are. But by the time you land, you should have 2 or 3 pages of your goals. Now, I would set goals for your career. Everything about your career, what you want. If you could make 2 pages, you could write what you don't want too. But all the things that